All right, all right. What's up, everybody? Joe Troyer here. If you guys can hear me, you guys can see my screen. You should see Keynote. You should see Ask Me Anything, AMA. You guys can see my mug here. Let me know in the chat. That'd be great. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. What's up, Ryan? Good to see you on here as well. So Ryan, who runs our support team, runs our support desk, is in the chat, just so you guys know. What's up, Dennis? Good to see you on here, brother. Can you see me okay, Dennis? And can you hear me okay, brother? Let me know. That would be great. What's up, Austin Lawrence, Christopher Haynes, Craig Vanderberg? Welcome, welcome. Dustin or Dennis Baracos, Eddie Hill, man. Eddie, this is the Eddie that I just saw in New York City, right? What's up, Eddie? James Noble, Jason Solomon, John Guild, Mike Bareka, Scott Logan, hello, hello, hello. Austin Lawrence, that was earlier today. That was at 3 o'clock. This is the AMA call, brother. A-okay, all right, so you guys can hear me loud and clear, and if it looks like I'm looking sideways, it is that way. I'm just looking at the chat. My chat's on my second window here, so apologies for that. All right, fantastic, good stuff. We're gonna give everybody just a second to jump on here, to get settled, and you guys are in for a treat today. You guys are in for a big, big treat today. So congratulations, pat yourself on the shoulder for showing up. And yes, I am serious. Today I'm working through, and I've been working through for roughly the last month. I've been working through some new training for you guys, and I've been working through it, talking with so many of you guys, having one-on-one consultations and helping you guys work through your challenges. And I've been working on really some new programming, some new criteria, some new training. And today, you guys are going to get a sneak peek of it. And I'm going to walk you guys through a process that I really call my core six. And they're the core six things that every agency has to have. They got to think through, they got to take the time to really go through, they got to slow down and really understand, or ultimately they're just the agency that's chasing their tail. And we've all seen agencies out there chasing their tail, and all too often we're the ones out there as an agency, myself included, chasing our tail. How many of you guys feel like you're chasing your tail these days and you're working a whole lot harder than you should be, and you know that you should be working a whole lot smarter? Let me know in the chat. We're going to fix that here today, and I'm going to make you guys slow down. I'm going to make you guys think, and I'm going to make you guys go through some exercises that, frankly, you've probably never made yourself go through. And I promise, if you stick with me and you go through these core six today, and you think through them, you do what I'm asking you to do, you will never look at your agency business the same, and you will finally have the ability to really catapult in your agency, as long as you just have some stubbornness to stick to the decisions that you made today. As long as you just have some follow through from today. So I really want to kind of, I don't have a long sleeve shirt on, it's short sleeve, but I really want to like roll up our sleeves, and I want to get dirty today. And again, this is all about me providing proof and value for some new training and a new program that I'm working on. And so because you guys showed up here, you guys are live with me, you guys are getting this today for free. So the plan as of right now is to record this, to get feedback from you guys, figure out anything that I messed up on, and then we're gonna roll this into some type of paid training. Make sense? Does that sound like a good use of the next 55 minutes or so? Let me know in the chat, that'd be great. I'm just gonna grab something to drink here. All right, fantastic. Welcome, Dennis. All right, good stuff. What's up, Frankie Allen? Good to see you. All right, good. All right, so let's go ahead and get this thing kicked off. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I think that these are the core six things that you need to not only build a successful agency, but to do it and still have a life and still keep your head and not drive yourself crazy. So if you've already built a successful agency, know that this is for you today as well. So my last agency that I built and since exited, thank God I was able to sell. It drove me batshit crazy. I hated the business that I had built. And so even if you're successful today, I'm going to help you guys go through some exercises. Today is for you. It's going to help you really make the most of your agency, finally get some leverage, and ultimately live a much more simple life that has way less stress on you day to day. Because I see way too many people building agencies ass backwards, in my opinion. And I myself have been there and have done that. And I'm really talking to you guys from my lessons after building and buying and acquiring and exiting, being involved with multiple agencies, and me being in a position now helping agencies that I have a very unique perspective. I've been there, I've done that multiple times. I still train and help lots of agencies. We work with hundreds of agencies, for example, at Invisible PPC doing their fulfillment. And so I have a very unique perspective. And I don't say that to brag, I say that because I really do want to help you. And the real reason that I want to help you is I know that if I help you and you accredit that success to me, that you will be a long time customer of mine. And when I make an offer, which is not today, today is completely free for you guys joining me live. When I do make an offer in the future, because of the value that I've given you guys for free, that you'll jump and you'll pay me for something. Like, there is no ulterior motive for this besides just that. Everybody clear? Can I get a 9 in the chat if we're clear? And you guys are going to have to be interactive. That's the only way that this will work. I need live participants to work through these exercises with me. So be prepared to get booted off if you don't interact. And yes, I'm 100% serious. So thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, James. Thank you, Kat. Thank you, Dawn. All right. James. All right. Wilson. All right, cool. Everybody else, I am serious. If you don't interact, I will boot you off. All right. So I believe, looking back on my agency and multiple agencies I've been involved with, lots of agencies that I've coached with, all the customers that we work with on a one-to-one relationship at Invisible PPC, that there are like really 6 things that I feel like I have quite literally shit the bed with, and that I feel like most people are making the same mistake with. And you'd think after building, exiting, buying, training all these different agencies and being involved in such a crazy capacity that I myself would have learned this by now. And to be honest, a bunch of these guys I haven't learned so well. And these are hard truths even for me. These are hard pills to swallow. So if I feel like, or if you feel like in any time during this training today that I just like hit you right between the eyeballs and you're like, damn, that hurts, like that's me, and I'm talking, you feel like directly to you and nobody else on this webinar, I want you to tell me in the chat, okay? Because that means I got my messaging right and I'm helping you work through it. All right, so I'm gonna walk you guys through high level the 6 things. And I'm gonna try to keep it as vague as possible so that you guys can see all 6, but you also don't make assumptions on the 6, because you guys know what they say about assumptions, right? Makes an ass out of you and me. Come on, I gotta get the dad jokes in, all right? So first things first is, I know it's cliche, but guys, we gotta pick a niche. We have to pick a niche. The fact of the matter is if you're jumping from niche to niche, your team is quite literally cussing you out every single time you bring on a new onboard, right? Because their expectations are different, the keywords are different, right? The output is 10 or 20% different, or 30 or 40% different. And if you're doing that multiple times, think about the stress and the variation that you're putting on your team, right? It's why factories have preset options and you can only use those options. They don't customize everything a million times because they know that their error rate would go through the roof if they didn't. Right? Take it from me, I've screwed the pooch on this one quite a few times, all right? So we're gonna walk through picking a niche, okay? And I'm gonna talk to you guys about what's important to me and why after picking a niche multiple times. All right, so next up, we're gonna talk about what I call the filter. At the end of the day, as an agency owner, I don't care if you're uber successful, I don't care if you're doing 10 grand a month or you just got started today, we are all spending way too much time talking with prospects that don't matter. If you've picked a niche, you're well on your way to only talking to the prospects that matter. But you're still probably talking to 70% of the market when you should only be talking to 20 or 30% of the market. So I want to help you guys build a quick filter in that you guys can use to right out of the gate filter somebody out and know if they're a prospect, yes or no. And the goal here is if you're not talking with a prospect that can buy your service and be the damn good customer for you, that you cut bait. And what I mean by cut bait is you're like, yeah, thank you. It was so great to meet you. Have a great day. See you. Right? And you end the conversation that quickly. Okay. So we got to build in that filter. Next up is I want to talk to you guys about packaging and my takeaways of how I build packages these days. And my packages and my service delivery, what I offer, what I include, what I don't is very different than it was when I first got started in this industry in, let's call it 2006 or 2007. Okay, so I want to walk you guys through my takeaways in terms of packaging. And if you're doing your packaging right, your customer success rate should go through the roof. Your customer experience should go through the roof. And your retention with your customers should be very long term. So if it's not any of those things, chances are you probably have a packaging issue. And it could be like a chocolate vegetables issue. And what I mean by that is you got to sell the chocolate, you got to sell what customers want, but you also got to feed them the vegetables, right? Or they're going to be 400 pounds and out of shape, and you're not going to have a very good long-term relationship with them. Okay, so next up, number 4, now that we've went through the niche, the filter, the packaging, is we got to work through what I call the perfect case study. And this perfect case study is the thing that does all the heavy lifting. After you've picked your niche, you've pushed through people through a filter, you know the 30% of the market that you should be talking to, you show them this case study, and this leads to lay down sales. This is like if you had to perfectly engineer, right, a sales deck to just put it in front of somebody, a one-pager, and it would close 90% of the room, this is it. This is that perfect case study, and it has that ability, but most of you guys don't think about your case studies like that. If you have a case study right now, it's probably really freaking boring. If you have customer testimonials right now, frankly, they probably suck. And mine have sucked too, right? It's been like, Joe's a really good guy. He knows a lot about SEO. And if you need help, you should talk to Joe. Like, that sucks. Like, that doesn't mean anything. So I'm going to teach you guys how to engineer your case studies to be a huge sales tool for you. And this is going to lead to lay down sales. This is going to lead to you being able to step out of the sales position as well a whole lot sooner and being able to pull in other people to run your sales process. So if you've had a problem handing off sales to salespeople or assistants or virtual assistants, you probably have not picked a niche, you haven't set up your filter, your packaging probably sucks, and you don't have a perfect case study. Step number 5 then is we're going to talk about lead flow. There's lots of ways to get leads. I'm going to talk to you guys about what's worked well for me, what's working in the future, what my concentration is on, and kind of my takeaway as I've built, again, and been involved in lots of different industries and lots of different agencies, where my head is at today in terms of lead flow. And then finally, number 6, I'm going to walk you guys through the conversion mechanism. So once we picked a niche, we've been able to filter people out. We know who's the right audience and who's not. We've got our packaging set up. We've got the perfect case study, right? We got the lead flow set up. How do we finally convert them from not knowing us from Adam to a paid customer without some really long and lengthy sales process? Guys, I convert 7 out of 10 people on my one call close. Okay. And I've designed it that way. So I'm going to talk to you guys and walk you guys through how you guys can replicate and how you guys can do the same. So there we go. We've been through the 6 things that we're going to talk about today. If this sounds like this is definitely up your alley and this is a good use of the next 45 minutes of your time, please let me know in the chat. I would love to hear from you. And I would love even more to know if you thought I missed something. Give me any feedback or any ahas that you've had so far, and I'm just going to build out the rest of the deck here real quick, so we don't have to worry about that later. So we got niche, we got filter, we got packaging, niche, filter, packaging, perfect case study, then lead flow. And I'll look at you guys' questions in just a second. And then conversion mechanism. Much better that I copy and paste instead of type it, just so I don't have any typos. All right. So we're good to go here. Let's take a look at the chat here real quick. Gotcha. Yes, I will, Joe. I need some help. True dat. Amazing value. Thanks. Sounds exciting. Good. I need help, Joe. We're here. Sounds awesome. Thanks, man. You're very welcome. Can't wait to see what you have. Absolutely. Sounds interesting in case study especially. All right. Fantastic. Good. Everybody's with it so far. All right. So again, remember, as I lay down this value, it's going to be like machine fire, okay? Because I need to stick to the top of the hour. Folks, I need to be out of here by 6, okay? My wife gets really upset when I'm not home at dinner, right? That's the family time. I got to cut it off. So frankly, I should be out of here in more like 30 minutes, but I have to cut it off at 6 p.m. Eastern, which is 45 minutes from now, okay? So I need you guys to commit with me that when I hit you right between the eyes, and you're like, holy shit, that is me. You're talking directly to me. Like, yes, that is an issue. I got to fix it. That you guys let me know in the chat. And I want you to let me know by giving me an exclamation point in the chat. And then I want you to give me a description of what you mean. What did I just say? What was interesting to you? If that makes sense and you guys can agree with me, let me know in the chat by giving me an exclamation point. Okay? Or yes, seriously, I will boot you off the call. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Austin. Thank you, Kat. Thank you, Don. Thank you, Joseph. Thank you, Frankie. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Vince. Thank you, Jason, Eddie, Mike. All right, that's good for now. Ryan, if you could just double check that everybody has put in an exclamation, and I am serious. If they don't, give them one more chance and then kick them off. Okay, we're not playing today. We got to go. All right, so first things first, when picking a niche, if you would have asked me 2 years ago, 3 years ago even, what was important when picking a niche, if you would have asked me about like, am I passionate about the niche or loving the niche, I would have been like, bullshit, I don't care. It's all about making money. I could care less about the vertical that I'm working in. That would have been my attitude. My thoughts are very different now. In my last agency, we built it really fast, and I went after too many niches. Let's just be honest. I thought that I was a really smart guy. I thought that I was limiting my liability by focusing on like home services as a whole. I thought that that was me being smart, but it was ultimately me giving myself a cop out. Oh, well, I'll just focus on all of home services. That's a good niche to start. My name is broad enough, that'll work for now. And when I find one that's a diamond in the rough, and when it's the right one, then I'll 100%, no problem, right? I'll just stick with that niche. Guess what happened? Didn't happen, right? So the problem is that depending on how you look at it, it could have been looked at as 5 different niches, but when you really look at the categories and the services being offered in those niches, right? How like roofing often does siding and windows and doors and all kinds of other shit, right? Like gutters, like we could have 8 to 9 different categories that I was in, and I thought I was picking one niche. Please don't shit the bed like I did. Pick one niche and stick to it, okay? So one niche, stick to it, period, the end, okay? Now, with this niche, I'm not saying that you have to be passionate about the niche. Like folks, at the end of the day, any local business, I'm not passionate about. Like it just doesn't strike my fancy like that. What is important to me now, looking back and building a business that I didn't like because of the people that we sold to, it's very important to me that I like the niche that I'm going after. And what I mean by that is I like the people that I'm working with. And the people that I'm working with could be different depending on the niche and who I choose to target. What I mean by that is it could be a marketing director or it could be the owner. And there's very different types of owners in different types of businesses. A chiropractor, a young chiropractor fresh out of school, very into sports and such, is very different than a roofing company potentially. Like fundamentally, they are very different people. Or if you compare that to a dentist, right? Fundamentally very different. Or a gym owner. Understand they are opposite ends of the spectrum. So what I want you to think about is in 36 months, from today, if you're still in that vertical, will you be happy solving that niche's needs? Because as an agency owner, that is our job. Our sole job is to find customers who we can help and to help them solve their marketing challenges and needs. So if you answer no to this in the niche that you're in right now, you need to fix this. And at the end of the day, if you wake up in 6 months like I did and you hate the business that you built, trust me, that sucks. Take it from somebody that's been there, that's done that. My multiple, what I exited with, how I left that business was not great compared to what it could have been. I didn't get robbed or anything like that, right? But my multiple could have been much better. I could have got a much better sales price if I would have stuck with it and been in that business and steady for at least 12 months. Okay, but the pain for me was so severe because I didn't take it serious on building a niche. Okay, so one niche, stick to it. In 36 months from today, will you still be happy serving that niche's needs? Ultimately, then, I need to know that that niche long-term can afford to pay me $3,000 to $5,000 a month. Folks, this isn't going to happen overnight. This isn't going to be my rate that I'm charging somebody right out of the gate. This is long-term. But some of you guys are working with like one-shop florists. They're never going to be paying you $3 to $5 grand a month. Like, sorry, but that's just not going to freaking happen. So let's be honest. Why would you be in a niche where you can only charge $1 grand or $2 grand when you could be in a niche where you could charge 3 to 5? You don't need near as many customers, all right? And a lot of people, when they think about their niche, they're like, oh my God, like I can't go in chiropractic because it's so saturated. Like, dude, at the end of the day, to hit your income goals, like what do you need? 10 customers, 20 customers? If you're charging these types of rates, folks in the chat right now, how many customers do you need? How many do you need? If you're charging this type of rate and you have a 75% margin, which you should, how many clients do you need? Honestly, tell me in the chat. 3 or 4, 10, yeah, 10 to 20, 3 to 5. You don't need many damn customers, right? So if you're picking niche like chiropractors and you say it's too saturated, so you don't want to go in it, understand that you're ass backwards and you are wrong. There are definitely 20 that you can attack and that you can onboard. Give me an exclamation point if that makes sense. Okay. Now we're going to stack on this, right? We're going to stack on this. So next is the filter. And so when you pick a big niche like chiropractic, the next thing we got to do is we've got to build our filtering mechanism. And the goal of this filtering mechanism is to know what 70, 80, 90% of the market is not our customer. So you can do this by figuring out who it is that you want to work with. You can do this by figuring out that there's a specialist area that you want to target. You can do this by filtering out uneducated customers that maybe don't have a marketing budget. But you want to set a filter here because you don't want to go after all the chiropractors or all of whatever niche that you just decided. It's too much. How do you market to 30,000 window replacement businesses? Like, talk about a spray and pray method. Like, what if instead we could top grade those and you could figure out that really at the end of the day, like you got 50 or 100 ideal prospects and all you got to do is onboard 10 or 20 of those. Sounds a whole lot easier to me than the other side of the equation. So we want to get super crazy about our filter. Okay. So I'll give you guys some ideas that you guys can use in your filter just to get your brain going before I start asking you guys for input. And again, if you don't give me input, I will boot you off the training. Okay, that's the deal. That's the give and the take scenario here. So in roofing, as an example, I've been in the roofing business. My father owned a roofing business. I sold my father on doing marketing for his roofing business, and it went awful. Full disclosure, went terribly wrong. The reason that it went terribly wrong is that they're not set up for retail. Well, they weren't at this time. And what I mean by that is they were storm chasers. So the way that they do business is a storm hits an area. It could be even a day away drive, and they will take their whole sales crew. They'll go transplant and pay for hotels and food and transportation and all that for the entire time that they're there. And they will go door to door and they will canvass, knock on doors, and they will get jobs from the people that have been affected by the storm, usually like hailstorms, as an example. Okay. The problem with this is their business is set up to run like that. They only pay their salespeople when they close a deal, and it's a percentage of the sale. So they're not set up for a retail environment. They're not set up to bid in Google or Facebook or get leads that come into a phone number. Then they take that, they assign it to a regional sales rep, and then they have a follow-up process to help the sales rep. They're not even monitoring what the sales reps are doing. It should seem obvious, right? But it's not, right? So I sold my father this, and then it exploded quite literally in my face. These aren't fun scenarios, but we've all been in them. So for roofing, the filter that you could ask is, do you do residential jobs or are you storm chasers? And I got an exclamation point. Boom. That one's tough, right? How many of you guys have worked with a client selling leads or selling calls or selling a product that gets them leads, only to have a problem where they don't answer their phones? 30%, 40%, even 50% of the leads that you send them don't get answered. Some of you guys are like, that doesn't happen. Folks, that happens all day, every day. In my last business, we owned a call tracking platform. For those of you guys that don't know, I sold that. I exited. Okay. But I was able to run data high level on all of you agencies that use the platform and all of your customers and see the percentage of calls that were missed. And folks, it was above 30%. Is that your ideal customer? Missing 3 out of the 10 opportunities that you send them? No, that's asking for problems. So what could you ask? What's the question that you could ask from the beginning that would help you understand what's the leading indicator is if they've solved this problem or not, or whether this is even on their radar? Eddie says that's horrible. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah, so do they have a sales team that answers the phone? Yeah, so you could say, how many people are in charge of answering the phone? And see how they respond. Oh, it's just me. Yep, click. Right, I just cut bait. I'm not talking to that roofer anymore. Another way that you can do it is you can look at like trailing indicators. And what I mean by that is in dental, for example, a question that you could ask that's very pointed and that you could frankly ask the receptionist when you call. And that's where we want to get to. We want to get to a bigger question that we could ask directly to the gatekeeper, directly to the receptionist, so that we don't have to try to get to the decision maker or the owner or the marketing director to ask this question. Why? Because if we can do this, we can pay somebody else to run this process for us. We can get a VA to run this process like I'm running right now. Okay, so if you're going after dentists, an example is how many dental, and I don't know how to spell this, so we're gonna have to auto correct it. How many dental hygienists do you have? The reason that this is important is this gives us the trailing indicator of, do they have marketing in order? Do they have some capacity, right? Are they answering the phone? All the things that we just talked about, if they have 3+ dental hygienists, they have multiple doctors there and they have got plenty of opportunity and lead flow and capacity. Give me an exclamation point if this makes sense. So this question to start may be okay, and it may not be great. It may be 2 questions to start, but as you dig in, you want to make this filter, this one question, as easy as possible. And again, the goal should be that you could take a lead list. Like I said, we ran a lead list of 30,000 window replacement companies, and I could just pay a VA $3 an hour to phone them up and ask one question, right? Or 30,000 dentists and simply ask, how many dental hygienists do you have? And if they don't answer 3 or more, we cut bait and we don't keep following up with them. There we go. Lots of exclamation points. So understand that this filter is going to keep getting more and more exact as you start to, that looked kind of strange, sorry about that. As you start to really deal with the niche, as you start to have conversations with the business owners and the marketing directors, and you start to draw lines in the sand and understand the different players in the industry. But understand, you need to have this filter criteria. So you start a conversation, right? And you're like, hey, my name's Joe Troyer. You're at a networking event. What do you do? Oh, I'm a dentist. Okay, great. How many dental hygienists do you guys have? They're like, 2. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's great. Here's my card. If you ever need anything, let me know. See you later. I'm done. I'm cutting bait. Conversation is over. I'm on to the next. So Carolyn Huff gave me some great feedback. She said a bunch of exclamation points, filters. These are mine. Make at least $1 million in a year. Have a good online reputation, but not in the 3-pack, and they're spending money on advertising. So Carolyn, try to get that down. Get that down to 1 question if you can, and maybe 1 follow-up question. Okay, but there's still definitely more room to go, right? You can simplify that, and you can also not ask such pointed questions. You asking, right? Ring, ring. Hello, dental office. Yeah, do you guys do at least $1 million a year? Do you have a 5.0 reputation? And can you take on more business? How do you think that call is going to go? Obviously, I'm being exaggerative, but it's not going to go well. You can't ask that to a gatekeeper. Yeah, they might cuss you out. So niche, then filter within that niche. Okay, and you may have even more criteria in here, like that they're a specialist of some kind, right? If you find that you really like working with some type of specialist, right? Like roofing, do you do residential or commercial? Great, click. All right, so next up is packaging. How many of you guys are selling a package that isn't multiple services? Like you're selling a package that is Google Ads, or you're selling a package that is leads, or you're selling a package that is local SEO, or you're selling a package that is reputation, right? If that's you, type in single. I'm really curious. I want your feedback. If you're selling a package that is like multiple of those together, type in bundle. So if you're just selling reputation, type in single. If you're selling SEO as a package and PPC and reputation, type in bundle. So you're selling single product services as a package or just one product. Bundle. There we go. All right, fantastic. So those of you guys only selling singles, you guys are going to run into some problems. All right, so when it comes into packaging, my thought process here and the filter that I use is, the first filter is what's going to get the best results. What's going to get the most immediate results for the client. Okay, so what matters the most when you kick off the relationship? This does. Good communication, that's all given, a pleasant onboarding experience, but they want to see that you're worth a damn, right? Show me some type of results. So what happens when you sell SEO and Google My Business as a package, as an example? You don't get the client immediate results. So what happens? They're frantically, even when you say it's going to take 3 to 6 months to get you results, they're knocking on your door at month 2.5 going, hey, Joe, how's it going? They're frantic, right? What do I do? Is it working? Right? When am I going to get my return? Why isn't it happening sooner? Are we okay? Do I need to fire you? What happens next? You guys have all been there. Exclamation point city in the chat right now, right? The next thing, well, let's talk about this. So when you sell local SEO or something that takes 3 or 6 months, we just talked about the ramifications of that. Very uneasy clients. The thing that happens though when you sell, let's say, pay-per-click clients is the opposite. They're okay at the beginning. Great job, you're bringing in leads. Then in month 3 or 4, they're like, hey, are the costs and the ROI, are the costs gonna keep going down and is the ROI gonna keep going up? And some of you guys may not be getting that messaging. Some of you guys, it's like, man, I'm just not getting the return that I want, or I want to cancel. But when you really dig deep, it's that their return on investment isn't what they think it should be. And it could be that they're getting a 2x or a 3x return on ad spend or even more, but that's not their expectation. And even if you sell against what their expectation should be, and you get them to believe that, you're still going to end up with kind of buyer's remorse at the 3 to 6 month mark, depending on how good you are, right? Where they're starting to feel like there's got to be a better solution out there. Give me an exclamation point if that hit you right between the eyeballs. You've been there, you've experienced this. So my first question when I think about packaging is what's going to get immediate results for the client? My second question is what's going to get the best, and let's capitalize best here, ROI for the client. So when I'm thinking about packaging, we're going to have to trademark this. I'm thinking about the yin, the yang, and I'm thinking about the yang, right? What's going to get the best immediate results for the client and what's going to get the long-term ROI for the client? Because I want the customers sticking around long-term. Okay, I don't want the customer coming to me at 6 months in or 4 months in and wanting to cancel. Even if I can save the deal, I don't want that happening. Does that make sense? So I want to plan for that. I want to build a package that prevents that from ever happening. In fact, folks, I stage out, quite literally has staged out 12 months of fulfillment and client updates for my packaging. Do you guys know the number one reason why someone leaves an agency? Why a business owner stops working with an agency? What's the number one reason? Number one reason, folks, is simple: indifference. It's them asking, what has Joe done for me lately? Yeah, I know that he helped me right out of the gate. He freaking crushed it. Or, hey, it was a little slow to start, but then the SEO kicked in and now we're getting a great return. But hey, like, you know, I'm not really seeing that ramp up. I'm not really seeing anything happening. You know, my communication from Joe isn't that great. What's he doing for me lately? Right? Is he on the bleeding edge? Does he really have my best interests at mind? Like, why haven't I heard from him? Why is he not doing anything new? I never want that to happen with a customer. And at the end of the day, it happens quite literally every single day in a business owner's mind is that point of indifference with an agency. So I believe that if you really think through your packaging, like I have, right? And you stage out and you set out 12 months of fulfillment and client updates that are pre-canned and ready to go, you can avoid most of those points of indifference. What this also does is helps you ensure that your margin stays good. So in this exercise with packaging, I will quite literally write out, this is what we're doing, this is who's going to do it, and an internal member or somebody else, an outsourcer, somebody that I'm out tasking to. It could be Fiverr, it could be localcitationservices.com, it could be Bright Local, it could be whatever. And I'm writing out line by line what I'm doing in what week and what timeline, right? Who's doing it, and then the cost. And I'm able to look at month one, here's my profit margin, month two, here's my profit margin, and I'm able to ensure that my profit margin is at least 75%, and your profit margin should be too. And if they're not at least 75%, it's because you haven't done the things that we've already talked about. It's because you haven't picked a niche. It's because you keep jumping from niche to niche, so the work keeps changing, right? It's because you haven't filtered down and gotten really tight on your criteria. It's because you haven't went through and staged out 12 months of fulfillment, your client updates, and your deliverables, right? So you just need to sit down and think through it and stop winging it each and every month. So when it comes to packaging, this is it. Okay, my minimum to get started in terms of packaging is $1,000 a month. And when I sell at $1,000 a month, when I sell my first 2 or 3 clients, I'm not going to get my big time goal. So this is short term to build case studies. And it's not just to build case studies, but the goal of these customers are like, these should never leave you. These are the people that understand that ultimately your goal is that you are going after $3,000 to $5,000 a month customers long term, and that they're never going to have to pay that, and so they'll never leave. So don't hide the fact that you're a newbie in an industry, right? When you're making a sales pitch and you're like, I'm brand new, just say that you're brand new, right? But share that with them, your plan. There's no reason to hide it. You don't have to feel like you're pulling the wool over somebody's eyes, but this is where you should be long term. So for me, it's all about pulling on 3 to 4 clients at $1,000 a month, right? And then after that, right, using those to leverage into packaging at 3 to 5 grand a month, again, with a 75% profit margin. Whoop. So typically, folks, I am doing like lots of different services, but I'm not doing those services all at once. It's not like they come on month one and it's like, hey, we need Google ads, we need remarketing or retargeting, we need SEO, we need a Google local my business build out, we need citations, we need reputation, we need a bot, we need this, that, the other, we need a website redesign. Like, no, it's all staged out. Again, and right now I'm at 12 months. Okay. So next up is the perfect case study. So again, once you've gone through and you've picked your niche, you've set your filter criteria, you've set up your packaging, and that includes these considerations and your 12 months of fulfillment and client updates for your deliverables. Next is we got to figure out what's the one thing that we can share with them that's going to get them to essentially sell themselves. So at the end of the day, if you can show one thing, right, that will get the customer excited, that will undoubtedly help you get the sale, as long as you're in front of the right niche, the niche that case study's in, and you're in front of filtered prospects, the right prospects, that the case study will sell the deal. So I want you guys to think through this with me. So the first thing is that it's obviously got to tie to your packaging, right? Like you can't have this be all about Facebook ads and then your service delivery and your package doesn't include Facebook ads. Otherwise, it won't make sense. So you got to figure out what's the thing that I could do? What's the thing that I could show them that would make everybody want to say, yes, that's that perfect prospect. So I need some feedback from all of you guys right here, right now. What's the perfect case study? What's the thing that if you had it, you think you could close almost every ideal prospect? What's that look like? Because again, most of you guys are using case studies and testimonials that frankly, they don't apply to the right niche. They don't attract or help sell your perfect customer. So what's the point? Like, it's just fluff. Like, and I'm sure you guys would all agree, there's way too much fucking fluff in our lives today, right? Like if you want fluff, go scroll on Facebook or go watch a never-ending stream of YouTube videos or Netflix videos, right? So what's the one thing that's going to get the job sold? Okay, so I'm going to start putting in some of your guys' ideas, and we'll go from here. So Mike Lewis, what's up, Mike? Says ROI, double sales. Thanks for that, Mike. Consistent leads at a consistent low price. So Don, I'm going to push back on you. And I'm pushing back because I love you, man. Not really. I don't really know you. But all that I want is your success. So I have found that when you are selling low price things, you get the wrong buyer. Okay. So consistent leads is good. Low price doesn't mean anything. In a market, there's always people that are willing to pay high and pay low. Why wouldn't you want to work with a client that's willing to pay high? If they're willing to pay you twice as much as the other person, wouldn't you want to work with them as long as they're your ideal client? So like cheap is relative. A good example, right? You work with one roofer, that's your ideal client. You get them started running, let's say, Google Ads. And 30 days later, you have a meeting with them. And let's say that we did two at a time. You did two companies in the same market in Louisville, Kentucky, that were roofers and that were the same ideal prospects, right? And you ran Google Ads for them for 30 days for both of them. It was the same budget. They all got the same results. You're going to have two very different conversations at the end. Chances are one of them is going to be like, yeah, Joe, that was great. Yeah, first 30 days, but we didn't make any money. And the other one's going to go, that was freaking amazing. We're on course to add 30% to our bottom line. Thank you. Which do you want to work with? And Don, I know what you meant, right? You said consistency, right? And price, but I really want to press upon you guys that if you go after the right customer, it's one step closer, right, in that filtering criteria, but it doesn't mean it's 100%. And even if you took all the variables out of it, you went after two quote unquote perfect customers with the right filter in the right market, you're still going to have two different expectations of how it went. Okay, so just think that through. Okay, so consistent leads, what else? Logging in real time and showing response, increased calls, call volume, if I just said this, right, for a local business like a roofer, a dentist, something else, what somebody would consider a shitload of leads, not like unheard of, unattainable, but just a lot of lead flow, right? Would that do 90% of the sales pitch as long as you packaged everything correctly, you filtered out correctly, and you picked the right niche? Just give me an exclamation point in the chat if you would agree with me. All right, lots of exclamation points. So then why don't you have a case study showing a shitload of leads? Right? If you were able to show like, hey, I do local marketing, I do, Google, I do Facebook, I do local, organic, whatever, and here's call volume, right, from a dentist, right, as an example case study. Here's what's possible, right? You guys all said that that would basically give you lay down sales as long as you packaged correctly, you filtered correctly, and you went after the right niche. So why don't you guys have this? Like, what's the problem? What's missing? What's the issue? Why don't you guys have this shitload of leads case study? Why don't you already have that? Why don't you have this perfect sales tool? And I just want honesty. And I'm not going to make fun of you guys, but be honest with yourself, right? Because I want you guys thinking through this. I want you guys to be honest so that when you leave here today, that you can execute on this and actually have a change happen. Lazy, just getting started. I appreciate that. Thanks for the honesty. Haven't done it yet. Just haven't done it yet. Yeah. No customers yet. So if I could share with you guys a way to, in just 7 days, get this perfect case study, showcasing a shitload of leads coming from, marketing activity like Google My Business, and you could do it in 7 days or less. How many of you guys would want that? Give me an exclamation mark, because that's what I'm prepared to show you guys. I'm going to show you guys exactly how to get this done in 7 days, and you'll never have to deal with the proof and the social example and the case study and the testimonial. I'll teach you guys how to do this in just 7 days. So here's the problem. Like most of you guys, if you went about building a case study of a shitload of leads, very speculative, but just shitload of leads, you guys would do something like, all right, my niche was chiropractors. Okay, then my filter is this. Okay, then my package, right? Because I just took you guys through this, right? My package is this. Then I need to start a marketing campaign to bring in these customers. And then in 3 to 6 months, when I get the result, when results are in, equals case study. How many of you guys, that's what goes through your head? You're willing to admit, when you think about case study and results and a testimonial, this is what it looks like. This is what good looks like. This is how it plays out in your head. Understand that this is complete and utter, excuse me, but fucking bullshit. Think outside the fucking box. Think outside the box. How can you get this faster? The goal is 7 days to show a screenshot of somebody ranked in Google Maps and showing, let's call it 40 plus calls per week. And depending on the market, that could be a shitload. Depending on the market, that could not. Let's pretend it's a shitload. How do we get there in 7 days? This is bullshit. But this is where our mind goes. How do we get there in 7 days? John says, get it from another agency. We could definitely get it from another agency, right? You could partner. Fulfillment company, partner with a fulfillment company that had it. / results. You could definitely do that. What else could you do? Come on, guys, I need you thinking. We're running out of time. Fake it? Chip, nah. Not about faking it. That's not my style, brother. Buy it. That's good. You can definitely buy it. Kind of a broad statement, but I like it. That's ballsy. Here's what I would do, folks. And this is what we're doing right now. Okay? So this isn't some bullshit. This maybe will work. This is happening right now and it's working like gangbusters. I'm going straight for it. I'm putting my filter at the top. So let's say I want to go after chiropractors. I'm saying chiropractors. I'm hitting that first filter criteria. Right? Like how many hygienists do you have? Right? Like that question that we went through. But then I'm getting right to the gold, folks. Ranking in 3-pack. That's the only way that they're going to have that call volume from Google Maps. Right? And then I'm making them a foot in the door offer, which could be free or paid, right? To build my case study in 7 days or less. Does that make sense? Is that sinking in? So this could be we do a GMB audit and we fix some things, right? And we add call tracking so that we can show the call volume that's coming in. And yes, for those of you guys that don't know, you can add call tracking to Google My Business and not mess up the NAP. Just go to Google, do a search for how to add call tracking to Google My Business. You'll see digital triggers come up and there's a post walking you guys through step by step how to do it. Okay, but guys, fuck that. Why would we do the GMB audit and fix things? Like, why can't we just go right for this? So why doesn't the foot in the door just be, I'll do call tracking for you. You go set up call tracking, it gets updated, the calls start getting routed through your call tracking platform of choice, and now you have call volume to show. Here's an example of a chiropractor in Chicago ranking in Google My Business, generating 35 calls a week. Do you guys understand how all of you guys are playing this head down game and you're in the box and you're not looking outside of it? Like, skip steps 1 through 10 and let's just go from 1 to 10. Like, just jump over 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 and just go straight for it. I'm going to say this again. If you're trying to show proof of rankings in Google Maps that drive phone calls, and that would be the thing that gets you a customer on the other end of the line that is basically pre-sold and saying, Scott, where do I sign the contract? All that you got to do is show them results. So how do you get results? Again, think about the fastest way to the money. Think about the fastest way to get there. Don't go do this, right? Go find the people that are already ranking and offer services to them so that you have results to show. They already have results. Stop going through all of these 10 steps. Somebody earlier in the chat said, my goal and what I want to be able to show people is in a specific vertical that I'm going after, a specific niche, that I can get them $3 out of Facebook ads for every dollar they invest. Don't go do this. Go find people in that vertical, chiropractors, if that's your niche, filter out your first question, right? Then filter out and ask them if they're getting that return. If not, don't talk to them. Talk to them and see how you can help them. And so you have that case study and that social proof. Does that make sense? And you could do a before and after if you wanted. I'm so sure some of you guys are like, yeah, but there's no before and after. Guys, it doesn't really matter. If I have a sales page and I have 5 case studies and it's like Atlanta dentist, Chicago dentist, West Palm Beach dentist, Austin dentist, and all that you see is call volume, and then 35 calls a week, 70 calls a week, 40 calls a week, 50 calls a week on the page, and then below each one you see a crappy testimonial, not even a good, well scripted out testimonial, right? That says Joe's an expert when it comes to Google My Business. If you really want help ranking in Google and getting phone calls, talk to Joe. Isn't that all that you need? Who said that you need a before and after? I better be getting lots of freaking exclamation points because this is bullshit. So many of you guys complain and have complained for quite literally years. Some of you guys have been following me for close to a decade and you've complained that you don't have case studies and you don't have results. You can do it in fucking 7 days. They only care for the after. I love that, Rick. They only care for the after. I'm not saying deceive them. Don't show before and after if you only have an after, right? But there's no reason that you can't do this in 7 days or less from today. Okay, what I shared with you guys so far, like, this isn't groundbreaking things. I'm sure that you've looked at this and been like, yeah, that makes sense. But some of you guys are fighting me tooth and nail through each and every one of these steps, and you're kind of fucking rolling your eyes. But you wonder why your business is where it is right now. I've been where you are. I am where you are. I'm one of you, and these are my takeaways. And I definitely suggest that you follow these. That's the difference, I believe, between a successful agency and a not successful agency. And when it comes down to it, success is not just revenue. Trust me. What you care about once you start bringing in money and once you start filling your pocket is going to be very different than what you care about when you're just trying to shove your pocket full of money. It's going to change. You need to predict that and you need to be ready for it. The other thing at the end of the day, folks, is you got to understand that there's an end to business. There's an end to life. Business isn't everything. I love what I do, don't get me wrong, but you should be building everything with the intent that you want to sell it at the end of the day. What do you think your business is worth if you're a random provider that does a bunch of useless bullshit for a bunch of different niches? Like, guys, I'm sorry, I love you. That's why I'm having this conversation. Right? This is tough love. If you haven't picked a niche, what do you think the chances are that somebody wants to buy you? Probably not very high. If you don't have your packaging down and you don't have a set package that you deliver and that you sell 90% of the time, again, and make it easy for fulfillment, right? What are the chances that somebody wants to buy you? That means you're stuck in the business that you've built. If you don't have the perfect case study, you're working way too hard to bring on sales, which means that you're not growing like you should be. So last and not least, I want to walk you guys very quickly through what I call the conversion mechanism. Okay, what I call the conversion mechanism. There is lots of ways at the end of the day to get people to raise their hand and say, I'm interested in having a conversation with you about what you do because you are an expert, right? If you're not an expert, you don't have a perfect case study, right? You don't have good packaging. You can't answer the question of what's your return on investment going to look like or what's lead flow going to look like. You can't answer questions like that. And you're a generalist, you're obviously going to have problems making sales. Okay, and it's going to be problematic when you're prospecting, right? Think about the pitch like, hi, my name's Joe Troyer and I do digital marketing versus, hey, my name's Joe Troyer and I work with roofing companies that want to go from 2 million to 5 million in the next 2 years. Which pitch is better, A or B? Which one's better, A or B? Come on, everybody. We got to wrap it up. Top of the hour here. B. Undoubtedly B. Nobody wants to buy a business that's A. Nobody wants to buy from a business that's A. I don't think you can survive today. I don't think that you can thrive today in the market without being a specialist, without going through the steps that we identified today, without wanting to just blow your freaking brains out. For those of you guys that are successful, you know exactly what I mean. And this is hitting home. So at the end of the day, what doesn't really matter is your lead flow, or is your lead, let's call it lead generation mechanism. Because as long as you have a lead conversion mechanism, you can jump and you can do different things for lead generation. I've helped so many of you guys build lead gen systems using voice drops or using cold email, and you guys have freaking destroyed it, right? Copying, pasting our systems. But frankly, at the end of the day, like this doesn't really matter. It really doesn't. What matters is the conversion mechanism, because you should be able to go to every channel. You should be able to go Facebook ads and be profitable as long as you've done what we've talked about and have clients quite literally on demand. You should be able to go and do Google ads if you've done what we've talked about. How many of you guys could never run Facebook ads or Google ads and turn a profit you'd suspect if you did it right now? Yeah. But if you just went through and you picked a niche, you defined your criteria, your filter criteria, you came up with a package, right? You built your perfect case study, right? And then you had a conversion mechanism. It doesn't matter if you were paying top dollar for these leads because you know that you can convert them. So we got people asking us all the time, like at Invisible PPC and at events and when I run into people, hey man, can you run ads for me? Wait, for your clients' businesses or for yours? No, for mine. No. Why? Because it won't be ROI positive. Well, what do you mean? You're not capable of that? Look, it's not in my shoes. If you haven't divined this stuff, how can you expect that you're going to get a return on any advertising? You'd be having the same conversation with your client, right? So now it's hard, and it's a hard pill to swallow. Okay, but this is, I think, what you need to do to really build a thriving business where you're not a slave to the business, and that's ultimately worth something, right? In 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, when you decide to sell it, or even when you don't decide to sell it, if you want to hand it down to another generation and it not run into the ground. Okay, this could be LinkedIn ads. This could be LinkedIn prospecting. This could be cold email. This could be voice drops. The list doesn't matter. The lead generation mechanism, the platform, the medium doesn't matter as long as you have the conversion mechanism. Give me an explanation, Mark, in the chat if that makes sense to you. So people are like, Joe, how should I start prospecting? I don't care. Pick one, right? If I were you, I would do, this one because this is what's worked best for me. Here's an example. Right? But it doesn't really matter. What you got to be focused on instead is this mechanism, the conversion mechanism. So the conversion mechanism at the end of the day is taking somebody that's cold or warm and turning them into a buyer on the spot. And for me, this is 50% plus of the time. We've pushed those numbers to up to 75%. I think if you're probably over 60, 70, or even 75%, you may want to look at it because you may be underpricing your services. You may be overselling it a little too much. So anytime that we start tipping over 60%, I'm looking at it and I'm like, is this too good to be true? Right? Like, are we really pulling on the best buyers? Right? And I start to question this a little bit. So just, I want you guys to shoot for this number and it should be as high as possible. But once it's there, right, and you got a really high conversion rate, start to question it. Should you up your prices, right? Should you up your criteria? Should you up your filter? Okay, so the conversion mechanism at the end of the day, we do this with strategy sessions or consults. And I'm going to give you guys the abbreviated version of this. I got training on this for hours that'll make your eyes bleed, walk you through every step of the process. That's not the goal. I want you guys to understand high level what you guys need to be working on and why. So strategy sessions or consults are designed to take a person and get them to understand that they are here and where they're going is here. And we got to understand the why they want to get here because people buy on emotion. So then we got to lay out that what they're doing right now and where they're wanting to go, that there's a gap in between there. And what I mean by that is if they keep doing what they're doing now and they don't change anything, they don't add anything, their business stays the same, that they're most likely not going to get the desired outcome that they want. If you don't do this in a sales pitch, you might as well not even show up to the call. It's pointless. It doesn't matter the case study that you have. So you have to identify the gap and that if they just keep doing what they're doing, that they're not going to get there alone. And if they say that they're going to get there, you need to get them to dream bigger so that there is a gap. Right? If they're like, all right, so we're at 1.5 million this year, we're trying to go to 2 million, and last year we grew by 50%. This year we're going to grow, we think, by 40%. There's no gap. Right? If you identify on the strategy session that there's no gap, you got to freaking create one. Otherwise, you're going to have a really big problem selling the deal. So once we've built the gap, we got to get them to identify that they're not going to get there by themselves. Then all that we have to do is fill the gap. So we need to say, here's how you fill the gap. I'm the expert. Look at my case study, right? This is what you got to do. And if you don't have a case study, borrow social proof. Here's a screenshot from Google Maps of a client ranking in your vertical in Google Maps and look at the lead flow that they're getting. Here's how we fill the gap, and I can help you get there. If they believe that your mechanism to fill the gap is good, they believe that it's doable, and you're the right person to fill the gap, all that you have to get them to do is start thinking about their why. And I know that's like kind of bullshit. Think about your why, what motivates you, whatever, but it's true. When you're trying to talk somebody into something, you got to get their emotions involved. So what's the why? Why are you going to buy today? Well, because I want to get to this income goal because I'm working, 16 hours a day as the business owner. And if we can just get to 2 million, I'll be able to hire another receptionist to take care of a bunch of the duties on my plate and answer the phone as a backup full time. When you find that out and that they're guilty that they've been missing their kids' baseball games, right? Or whatever the reason is that's really behind that reason, you have all the ammunition that you need to close a deal. That's how I'm able to close 50+% of the time with a one call close. Give me an exclamation point if that makes sense. And we got to wrap this thing up. It's fourth quarter of the year and they haven't hit their income goals for 2019. So Scott, that's great. But what's the motivation? Income goal, why does that matter? Right? Figure out the reason behind the why that they gave you. Right? A good theory is just keep asking why. Get to the next layer of the onion, the next reason why. That isn't enough for you to seal the deal. You need to figure out that the owner, right, is working too long or isn't profiting as much as he should be. And so he hasn't been able to buy that vacation home that he's been trying to buy. And he's promised his family that he will buy. You got to get to the layer behind the layer behind the layer, right? That they're getting old and that the hard work is kicking their ass, Mike says. Yeah. And ultimately they want to sell one day. And so the multiple that they're going to get is going to be shit if they can't figure out their advertising. You figure that out and the deal is fucking done. It is sold. And you're going to get a premium as well because they can't afford not to work with you. So guys, I need a rating from you guys to wrap up today's training on 1 to 5. How good was today's training? Okay, 1 to 5, be honest with you or be honest with me. I won't call you out and give you shit if you give me a 4 or you give me a 3 or you only give me a 1 out of 5. I want your honesty. And we went fast. I want to take people through this process step by step. So it's much more workshop style as well. So you guys walk out with the core 6 solved and done. Like everything from A to Z. So give me some feedback on a score of 1 to 5. Where would you rate today's session? And then ultimately, if you gave me anything less than a 5, I just have one more request from you before you leave today. What's the one thing that I could have done to change that from a 4 to a 5? I want to know, right? Like that's the point of today. I need it to be a 5 out of 5. So please give me the hard truth. Give me your constructive criticism. I need it so I can make this better. And I need it so I can make it better for you and the rest of the community. For those of you guys that gave me a 5, I need one more thing from you before you jump real quick. Please and thank you. I need the one thing that you would tell somebody about today's call. Guys, I need the perfect case study. What's the one thing that you would say about today's training to a friend that's getting started in the agency business that needs help so that they get to skip all the bumps, bruises, and pains and bullshit that you went through as an agency owner that would give them the fast track? What would you say about today's training, right? If you were genuinely concerned and wanted to give them the God's honest truth about today's training, what would you say? And obviously we can't do case study, your results aren't in yet, but what would you tell somebody? And not just this was awesome, right? Or Joe's great, right? Give me a little more girth, if you will, please. And guys, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to read these as these come in. Know that I will read each and every one of them. And for those of you guys that take the time and really give me feedback, I just want you guys to know that I really appreciate it. You guys mean the world to me. And it's because of each and every one of you guys on this call that I do what I do. So I'm in it to help you guys win. And if there's something that I can be doing better, I want to make sure that I'm doing it. So I hope you guys have a fantastic day. It's 15 minutes past the top of the hour. My wife's going to kill me, but I'll go through each and every one of the comments here in the chat real quick before I leave. Have an awesome day. Joe Troyer signing out. Sayonara, everybody.